I was scrolling through X earlier today and I noticed this post that got me laughing, but also I think because there's something interesting to be discussed in regards to censorship in modern video games, particularly when it comes to a studio censoring some of their older games when they're remastering them. The initial post is linked to an article that I'll get to more in a moment that says, fans spotted unexplained wardrobe change in Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny Remastered. Jeremy Prime responded to this post by saying, it's called censorship, pork wallets. I hate gay fan sites like this one that constantly shelf for access. A person named Tony Daniels responded to this post by saying, at Grok, is this censorship? Give me a simple yes or no answer. Like to say, like, this isn't censorship. Grok, see, tell them this isn't censorship. And scrolling down, Grok says, yes. And I know that's just AI and stuff, but still, it got me laughing because it does feel like that this is a form of censorship. And it doesn't seem like it's anything that's been unusual in recent years. Clicking on the article, you can see what they're talking about. So they have a photo of what people have pointed out. On the left is the character from the 2002 version of the game. On the right is the 2025 remastered version of the character. And you can see that she's wearing a lot more clothing in the new version versus the old version like this. Capcom is bringing Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny Remaster to the Switch on May 23rd, 2025. We've gotten to see some new gameplay footage and trailers for the game leading up to launch. And I think and one change in particular has been pointed out by eagle-eyed fans, and this is what people have pointed out. And I think what causes people to have concern for this sort of thing is just the fact that it doesn't seem like it's unusual in these recent years. Even Capcom themselves have done this quite a few times. I mean, just a quick Google search, I was able to find this article from last year. Capcom further censors Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, removes erotica category from photography mechanic. And there were many more examples of this too. You can look them up if you would like. This is just the first one I was able to spot. And it just shows that this isn't unusual for Capcom to engage in this sort of behavior. Now, the question is, why are they doing this sort of thing? Because this points out that it's being ported over to the Switch. So maybe there is just some guidelines that, or some rules that they have to follow if it's going to be put on the Switch. I'm not hearing anyone particularly make this argument. This is just something that I think some people might try to just come up with as a reason for why they're doing this, because the Nintendo Switch is more of a family console. So maybe one would try to make the argument that they're doing this because Nintendo's forcing their hands on this one, because Nintendo's like, well, if you want to have your game on our console, you have to fit certain standards. It's kind of like a movie. If it's going to be shown on basic broadcasting, or at least in the US, they have to censor certain elements for it because you're not allowed to show that on just regular TV. Some people might say that that's censorship. I don't think that's really that big of a deal, because if you don't want to show your movie on broadcast TV, then you don't have to. If you don't want to have your game on the Switch, then you can choose not to do this. So maybe that's not necessarily the worst form of censorship, but I mean, I still think it is kind of censorship, but I don't think anyone's really trying to make that argument, like I said, because Nintendo does have games that have more, I don't know, provocative female characters. First one off the top of my head is Bayonetta. That's on the Nintendo Switch right now. Not to mention that this is also a mature rated game. So, I mean, if Nintendo just had a policy where they don't have mature rated games, and okay, fine, I can understand if they had to tone stuff down in order to fit the console, but that's not what's happening here. It really is just Capcom deciding to make this decision on their own, and they haven't given a reason as to why they're making this decision. As you can see in the comparison above, one of the game's characters has seen a slight wardrobe change with the remaster. The original outfit from the 2002 was a bit more risque, while the 2025 version has subdued things somewhat by adding a sheer top. Now, let's just be clear, that's not a sheer top. They just gave her a shirt underneath her jacket to make it less sexualized. Capcom has not explained their reason for the wardrobe change, and now people are wondering if there are other changes / tweaks that the company is yet to reveal. And I think that is a fair concern, because I think there's a lot of people like myself when it comes to remaking a game that you want it to be as true to the original as possible. Me personally, I would prefer, if you're going to remaster a game or put it on a new console, that you don't make any changes to it. Just port it over to the new console. Maybe if you're going to do anything, just add like a fresh coat of polish to the graphics or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but be as true to the original as possible. If you're going to make any real changes to it, then you should just remake the game as the new version that you want to make. I don't really have anything against remaking games. I mean, I might be disappointed in it, but I'm not opposed to companies remaking games. But if you're going to do a remaster like this, and I can see why people would see a seemingly insignificant change like this and be wondering like, well, if they're going to change something so small like this, what else are they changing? Now, just for full transparency's sake, I don't have a dog in this fight. I never played the original game. I didn't even know about the remaster until I saw this post. Like I said, I'm just more interested in the discussion in regards to censorship in video games, because this is something that we have been seeing more and more in recent years, particularly when it comes to female characters, with some companies choosing to do stuff like this to make them seem less appealing, but also just new games coming out where some of those same studios will try to go or seemingly go out of their way to make their female characters in the game look less attractive. And honestly, I don't know why they're doing that sort of thing, because sometimes, especially when they're using real life actresses for the motion capture and for the face scans of it, you can see that changes were made in order to try to make them look less appealing as possible, or less appealing than what they ordinarily look like. And it doesn't really make sense to me, because we've seen even research studies that show that female gamers prefer to have more attractive female characters that they play as. Male gamers prefer the female characters to be more attractive. I mean, I don't even think it has to even do with anything sexual. It's just when you're playing a game, you want something appealing to look at, and ugly characters are not appealing to look at. It's kind of like the environments of a game. You want to have good looking environments, or at least somewhat interesting environments. Now, this isn't to say that everyone just has to be a model. You can have ugly characters in games, but you have to at least make them look interesting. Like if you have like certain like grotesque characters in a game, then there's something interesting to be had with that. What we've seen in a lot of recent games is they'll just do slight tweaks to the characters, so they don't necessarily look attractive, but they don't look like grotesquely ugly. They just look very mid, and mid is boring, and no one likes boring. And I think that's been hurting a lot of games in recent years when they've been trying to go down that route of making their characters just look as least memorable as possible. And it doesn't make sense. And when you have something small like this, with Capcom not making any statement as to why they're doing the things like this, you're left to ask like, well, what was the reason for it? Because I would think if you're going to be remastering a game, then the default position would be just to do the exact same thing, but just improve it or just port it over to a new console or whatever you're doing with it. So when you're going to make a change like this, presumably there was a discussion to be had behind the scenes to say, no, you need to put a top on her underneath her jacket like that. And I'm just wondering like what the reason for that is. Like, why did they make that decision? Why aren't they saying why they made the decision? If they're saying it's just a small thing and it's not that big of a deal, like, well, then, okay, if it's a small thing and not that big of a deal, then why did you do it to begin with? And are you doing other changes? And should people who are fans of the original be concerned? The fact is they're not going to ever address that, because they want to just make it seem as if like, oh, it's just a small thing and you're somehow bad for noticing it. But it isn't necessarily a small thing, because it starts off, even if this is all it is, it starts off something small, and then they just kind of ramp it up until it gets to the point where like the remasters of games are completely different from the original, because all the ones that people are praising, the remasters that are coming out, are the ones that are faithful to the original. And I think game studios should just be doing that. And I don't understand why they're making these sort of decisions, unless it is ideological reasons where they're just trying to, I don't know, it feels like they're just trying to erase what it means to be attractive or what it means to be beautiful. They just want to uglify everything. Maybe it's a sense of insecurity for the people working on it. They want to have every character look as ugly as them, or maybe they want to try to blur the lines of what it looks like to be a male and female. So when you get the Transformers working at these studios, when people are saying like, yeah, they don't look like a woman, it's like, well, no, they look like the women in their games, even though that's not really fooling anyone. I think that at least it seems like that's what they're trying to go for, but I really don't know. I think they should just be as faithful to the original as possible. And even if it is a same studio doing a remaster and they're doing these changes, like I said before, this is still self-censorship, and that kind of stuff should not stand. And I think people are justified in being upset about this, especially fans of the original game. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think it's just not that big of a deal? Or do you think that you just kind of have to hold the line and don't allow any of this sort of stuff to happen within the gaming space? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.